we are actually taking the initiatives to do the change. And the question I have is, we talked a little bit about this last evening, do consumers care?
Right. Yes, and it's a very interesting question. As an observer from within the industry, and as an observer, as a journalist, and as a writer of the industry and of the consumer patterns, I see these waves come and go, and there have been moments, I'm sure we're all aware of, where the consumer in the Western markets would protest if they felt that exploitive labour had been used in manufacturing their clothes. We've talked about that. That's been going on up and down over the years. And the conversation I had with Ajay is that actually then being part of their thinking when they decide how much they're going to spend on the next t-shirt, on the next pair of shoes or trainers, or do they really say one thing and not act on the other? And of course we're talking about very many different levels of consumers. I'd like to just start with general consumer patterns and then come back to do the consumers care, because I think they do, they just don't know enough and they're not informed enough. The general consumer patterns are that fashion, of course, will never die. Bibi quite rightly described it as part of culture. It's how people express themselves, how they see themselves. And but in some ways it's got out of hand. We now have a situation where designers like Vivienne Westwood, who has become very committed to the environment, saying, don't buy so many of my clothes. Now, fashion, by its own definition, has to be something that you want and sort of is changeable and is disposable, because otherwise what happens for the following season? And yet at the same time, we're told we're spending too much money on fashion. There is an awareness that is growing about the lack of sustainability in fashion. There was a TV program in England quite recently which literally built a mountain of garments from one particular mall that was consumed over 3 months that was completely non-biodegradable. So there's an awareness going, we do not have a ban on plastic the way you do. We should have. It is starting. The awareness is starting. Does the consumer care? When it is brought right in front of their face, when they are told what has happened to this particular garment to get it to them at this price, they care to an extent.
Yeah, so a 2016 study in the UK by the retail research agency Verdict says that about 60% of consumers care about retailers' sustainability credentials, but 20.2% say that they want more from ethical fashion, but only 3% were found to be willing to pay more than 21% for ethical fashion. So there's that question about, we have the desire, but it doesn't extend to the wallet. I think that's one of the conversations.
Yes, it's one of the crucial things, but I don't think it's just about that. I think it's because the whole situation is not integrated. So what you see in the store or the shop doesn't relate back to how that garment is made or what damage it didn't do to the environment. We're not given the information. So it seems to me there is a real need for a far more integrated communications, collaborative strategy in talking to the consumer, which starts with, of course, the factories and the incredible examples we've seen here today, includes the designers, includes the brands, includes the retailers, and goes through to the consumer with media in partnership and hand in hand. And at the moment that collaboration doesn't exist. I mean, I think Nikki was saying this morning that he spoke at many conferences where everybody in the room is supporting sustainability. So how do we get that information out there? And that's the point we've got to now, I believe.
So this is about the communication now, really. Communication and
collaboration. And it's about bringing together the different elements of the industry, right from manufacturing all the way through. I understand since I've been here that Marks and Spencer's who are a big customer of the big companies here, were very keen in bringing over their Plan A, I don't remember how many years ago, quite some years ago, to show that they wanted to start selling sustainable products. Unfortunately, Marks and Spencer's, like with many big companies that are not family owned, have change of leadership, so what is a priority for one leader does not continue to be a priority for another leader. However, I believe that was one of the initiators of this different way of thinking in Sri Lanka. So it's interesting to see how the seeds kind of land and how they grow. Are Marks and Spencer's today involved in what's happening here in Sri Lanka? Do they promote at store level how the garments they buy from Sri Lanka are produced, which is actually according to their original requirements, not in any shape or form that I've seen. So it's really about bringing the communications people, as well as the CEOs of the retailers, together with the media, together with the designers, and together with the factories, say this information needs to get out there. And one of the initiatives that's come out of the UK recently, which I'm not sure if we have a film about or not, Fashion Revolution Day, came, a friend of mine actually, together with another woman, was so upset about the factory fire in Bangladesh that they started Fashion Revolution Day, which I think was only 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
4 years ago.
4 years ago, where they create one day a year as a focus when transparency with how fashion products are made is sort of encouraged and promoted.